Welcome to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Nonetheless, we are here. I have a special guest, the mad scientist. He loves to conjure up some conversation and also trouble with Chris G. I would say that they're arch nemesis, but they're not really arch nemesis. Only on football, college football season. Nick, how you doing today, sir?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me on this special episode of DSTM, and looking forward to having a nice conversation with you.
So even with Chris not being here, it still was trouble. I think Chris might have said, "Hey, Nick is coming. Let's get some of that Ohio State power out there." But it's all good. It's all good. Thank you for joining me tonight, Nick. And we got some things that we are going to talk about. But before we get to that, we got to go to the business. I want to thank our sponsor today, Cassandra Roach, who is at Caldwell Banker Realty. Yes, if you are looking for a home, a good mortgage, income tax season is coming. So, hey, why not get yourself in a good position to help secure your family's future? And if you need to contact her, that's 475-201-7435. Yes, Cassandra Roach. Holla at her. So, Nick, I know we talked about it yesterday, Matthew Stafford, but I wanted to get your opinion on the Matthew Stafford situation because I know you had some good insight on that. But also, you were talking about Westbrook as well. But I'll start with Stafford. I want to get your opinion on that. What do you think about it? Is it the smart move, or is it just opening the floodgates for some other craziness?
It was a brilliant move for the St. Louis Rams, and I'll tell you why. Matthew Stafford is 33 years old. Now, for the quarterback position, as we had seen, you can pretty much play up until you're about, let's say 42, 43, 44 years old. Mm-hmm. And Stafford has many years left, in that arm of his. Let's be honest. He got a bum steer because he played for a very horrid franchise.
Agreed.
In the Detroit Lions. He's been through so many dumpster fires, it's not even funny. You're now putting him with an offensive genius in Sean McVay. You're actually giving him an offensive line that is 10 times better than what he had in Detroit. He's going to have weapons that he hasn't had in quite some time.
True.
That he had in Detroit in his earlier years. Now, at one time, I actually thought Detroit was going to turn the corner because let's look at it. They had Stafford. They had Marvin Jones. They had Kenny Golladay. They had, they had wide receiver. There was one more where they had Golden Tate. They had guys that can move the ball down the field, left, right, front, and center. They could never get over the hump. They never made the playoffs. And as we saw with Detroit, once the wheels fall off, that's it. They're done. They're finished. End of story. Now you put them on a team where you have Woods, you have Cooper Kupp, you have the run. I forgot the run. You have Cam Akins Atkins in the backfield. You have, who I think is one of the more underrated receivers that they have, Johnson. You're looking. You have guys that can put up numbers. When Jared Goff was the quarterback, Stafford is signed for another 2 years. You look at the Rams roster right now; they're built to win now. It was McVay pretty much came out and said he endorsed this deal. He actually called Stan Kroenke to endorse the deal and to get it done. Now, when you look at the flip side, they don't have any first-round picks now until 2024.
Which they always put themselves in a bind for the
Exactly. They do. So they're really going to have to build in the later rounds. Not easy to do. Let's be honest. Also, their cap, not in the greatest shape per se, but Les Snead knows how to work the cap pretty well. Mm-hmm. Now you look on the other side of the deal, the Detroit Lions. Great deal for them. Now, people might be scratching their head and saying, how is that a great deal? I go, well, look at it like this. They got an extra third rounder for this year. Okay, fine. They didn't get a first rounder this year, but you got the 2 Rams first rounders in 2022 and in 2023. You also got a quarterback who's only been in the league for 5 years. He has a pretty hard contract, let's be honest. But it means the Lions do not have to go out this season with the 7th pick overall to go grab a quarterback. They don't have to do that this year.
But here's my only issue, and my issue with the Lions in general is they have another coach. I don't know, what is he, like the 8th coach in the last 10 years or something like that? I'm just being facetious, but I want to know, how is Goff going to be able to transition into that role? Because again, he was having trouble with McVay, because McVay was kind of like, okay, you do this, you do that, I got you. But you bring in a new coach, new offensive coordinators. Now Deuce, because no, let me see. Deuce is Deuce Staley over there?
Deuce Staley is like the offensive, not the offensive coordinator, but he is part of the staff. But he will have a lot of say in the offense. It's Anthony Lynn.
Okay,
I think is the offensive coordinator.
So I think him having those guys, are pretty decent. Because you saw what Anthony Lynn did, and with the Chargers with Justin Herbert. So that's my only thing is are the Lions going to be able to let this develop, or is it going to be a one and done thing? That's my only issue with the Lions, because they have a promising future for the next 4 years. Again, the first year might be rough, but if they can get some draft picks, even you can use those draft picks to leverage to get veterans. But are the Lions going to be the Lions? That's my question.
I look at it like this. It's a clean slate once again for the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell at the head coach, Anthony Lynn at offensive coordinator. You have Deuce Staley, part of their offensive staff. People seem to forget that Goff was an all-pro quarterback in 2017 and 2018. He was a quarterback that led the Rams to a Super Bowl. In 2019 and in 2020, people also seem to forget that Goff really wasn't healthy. He was dinged up both seasons. And when someone like Matthew Stafford is available, you take the plunge, fine. Okay, if the Detroit Lions get the Jared Goff of 2017 and 2018, and if he picks up the Anthony Lynn's offense pretty quickly, given a full offseason and a full preseason, and he puts up numbers like he did when he was an all-pro, you're looking at a quarterback that can be there for the next 2 to 3 years. If he puts up the numbers like he's done the last 2 years, where it's been middling at best, then you can say, okay, 1 and done, possibly 2 and done.
Right. No, so I agree with you. But here's my only knock is that Matthew Stafford was putting up those numbers. But it's on the defensive side of the ball that they have trouble with.
Well, this is where the draft picks come in. This is why with the 7th pick overall, don't go after offense. Grab the best available defensive player that you can have. Let's be honest. Their defensive backfield was a sieve. Their linebackers were okay, not spectacular, and their front was actually halfway decent. Yeah. So you build on the defensive side. If I'm the Detroit Lions, what I do is build that defense through the draft and through free agency. Offensively, I think they'll be fine. I think they're going to re-sign Galladay. It would be foolish to let him walk.
Stranger things have happened, Nick. Trust me.
Huh?
Stranger things have happened in Detroit.
Stranger things have happened in Detroit. We get it. But I have a funny feeling that this front office understands that, with the new coaching staff, they do have cap room. They can do a pretty nice job this offseason in free agency and through the draft. Detroit Lions may, and this is a caveat, may be one of those surprise teams in the NFC, because if you look at the NFC North, Chicago's in trouble.
Oh yeah,
we know that.
Oh, come on.
The Viking, my team, the Vikings. I got to be honest with you. Are they 9-7? Are they in 10-6? Or are they, just a regular 500, below 500 team? We don't know. Mm-hmm. Remember, they had a lot of injuries last year, and they're also not in the best shape of cap room. And in Green Bay, you have a little drama going on over there. You do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they still are the best. They still are the best team in the North. I'm not going to deny that one bit. But there is drama right now. So we're not going to know what's going to what's going to happen after this offseason. Because let's be honest here. This offseason with that Stafford deal pretty much sets the table now for any other team,
which is crazy,
that wants to trade for a quarterback or trade for a stud player. The baseline has now been met. So I am very, very, very confident that if you see any more blockbuster deals this offseason, it's got to be better than what we just saw.
Yeah, a whole lot better. I just want to get to this comment real quick. Sean Naylor, thank you so much for joining us. He said, I believe they are them. The Lions are in this for at least 2 years with Goff. The cap hit is too large not to ride at least that long.
Shout out to Sean Naylor, head writer at NGSC Sports. It happens to be a personal friend of mine, and I highly agree with them. I really do feel that, again, I mentioned this before, that if Goff plays at the level that he did in 2017 and 2018, there you go. I mean, if you look at the cap numbers in these 2 years for Stafford and for Goff, they're pretty much even. Mm-hmm. They really are, if you think about it. It's towards the end of his contract. It's towards the end of his contract, Goff's contract, where the number gets quite onerous. In which, if he plays at that level, you could always restructure. Bring that money into like a certain year, or spread it out. Spread it out further if they decide that he's their guy.
Right.
So this is the type of deal. This was the type of deal where you have two Pro Bowl quarterbacks,
former first round picks,
former first overall picks.
Oh yeah, true.
First overall picks. Going to teams which I think that are in great that they're both going into great situations for themselves. Mm-hmm. So I can't find a loser in this deal.
I could. The 49ers. Because in order to get Deshaun Watson, we're going to have to give up the house. And
that's one of the things that we were going to talk about. But you just mentioned the boogeyman, as I like to say right now. The elephant in the room, as they would say.
And I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. Because now, like you said, again, these are just rumors. The Texans, they want some. Again, just reading the news wire, they want 2 starting defensive players, including the 2 first-round picks from this year and next year, and a second from the year after that. I'm like, I don't think nobody's going to touch that. Now, you had some issues with Deshaun signing a deal and his grievance now. I do want to talk about it. Let's talk about that.
Okay. When Deshaun Watson signed his contract extension last year, we knew of the friction that he was having with Bill O'Brien. We knew that Bill O'Brien, to be honest with you, should not have had any personnel control whatsoever, because he pretty much tore down what I thought was going to be a really good thing going on in Houston. Mm-hmm. The trade for Hopkins last offseason basically started, the mistrust between Watson, O'Brien, and the front office. And let's be honest, Jack Easterby is a freaking moron. I never liked the guy, and I hate him even more now. Cal McNair, he has no cojones, as they would say. when Deshaun Watson says, being that he is their star player and wanted to have some input, for a GM or a head coach, you would think that they would listen to his suggestions. They don't have to agree with his suggestions, but you would listen. They pretty much was like, okay, you gave us a suggestion. We're not even going to move forward with it. They just pretty much tossed it to the side. We discussed this on the show a couple of weeks ago when it went from a 2 to a 10. Now he's like, I'm done. I want out. The problem is that I have is this. If you really want out now, how come you signed that contract extension when you knew there was friction in the organization 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was really shocking to me. I didn't.
What do you call it? That to me, is on Watson himself and is on his agent. The worst thing about football, any contract, is you sign for, I believe it was 4 years, meaning you starting this past season. So he's got another 3 years that he has to play. The team has all the leverage. You can bitch, moan, complain, hold your breath until you're blue in the face, pout, stamp your feet like a baby. It don't matter. You can pull a Le'Veon Bell, who everybody knows me from my days in the past, that I railed on Le'Veon Bell because I don't think he was because of what his self-worth was back in the day. He decided to sit out, did nothing, ended up signing a contract with the Jets, which was for less money than what he would have gotten at Pittsburgh, and he pretty much flamed out.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen here with Deshaun. But the team holds the cards on anything. They're not going to trade you they're not going to trade you unless they receive a king's ransom. You can sit out as many games as you want. They'll get by whatever they're going to get until you decide to come back. Until you decide to come back and end up, and end up playing in games because he's not going to want to lose a year towards free agency.
No. And then the leverage with other teams is going to be, well, we don't have no tape on you. And then also it's going to be like, well, why should we give you this when this guy sat out a whole year? So we don't know if he's healthy or not. We don't know what we're getting. So that's going to be tough. And that's going to be something. So that's the caveat for him. It's like, okay, well, team's going to want to know, like, okay, if we're going to get you, what are we getting? And
the other thing is like Deshaun Watson says he has a no trade. They're like, the Texans are like, okay, you have a no trade. Doesn't mean we have to honor the no trade. If you really want out, we'll send you to, say, Washington. We'll send you to, say, Jacksonville. Places that you probably really don't want to go to. And he could say, all right, well, I can veto the deal. And they'll be like, okay, well, we tried.
Yep.
Think about that.
Now, that's the only thing that I was confused when they were getting rid of some pieces in Houston. I was looking like, okay, what is Deshaun going to do? I said, I know he's gone. And then he signed an extension. I was like, why would you do that? Why would you handcuff yourself? And then within a matter of weeks, what happened? He was not happy. So I think that with that being said, it's going to be a team like who was not in the position to win, to get him and to get a lot. Like
the only teams that can do anything right now would be the Dolphins and the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The Dolphins and the Jets. They have the capital
and
the cap room to make such a deal to get Deshaun Watson. Now, we all know Watson's already saying, I want to go to, he'd rather go to Miami than the New York Jets. We already saw Richard Sherman say, dude, go to New York. You will be the face of New York. You will, they will plaster you all over the place. Everybody seems to forget the Jets right now have $72 million in cap room. The Jets right now, without making a deal, have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 3 third-round picks this year. They have 2 first-round picks next year. The Jets, Joe Douglas isn't a fool. He really isn't a fool. Now, what I am going to say, though, is this. If you give up 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and Sam Darnold, or 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and 2 with Tagliavola, and get that deal done, you're mortgaging yourself to Deshaun Watson. You're mortgaging yourself to a stud. But what happens if he goes to these places and he doesn't play up to par?
Mm-hmm.
The deal becomes, and I hate to say it like this, the deal becomes Herschel Walker Part 2.
Oh, man. Also, I want to jump on to shouts out to the Ruck Report. He said, stop it. C. Lev Bell. He said he wants to go to the Jets. My problem with him going to the Jets is, again, like him, and it's tough because even in Houston, he didn't have a line. Well, he doesn't have a line because he's still there. But the Jets, man, that's going to be tough. And then again, what are they going to get around him to help him? Is he going to be fighting for his life? Should have been like, hey, I should have stayed. That is the thing, because Nick, you've been watching football, longer than I have, and it's like, what it's like in New York. And listen, Robert Saleh, he's our former defensive coordinator, and I would love, but let's be real.
Hold on. I did not say he does not want to go to New York, people. I did say that he wants to go to Miami first. The Jets would be second. Obviously, you would want to prefer to go to Miami, warmer weather, no sales tax, no tax on, no taxes, stuff like that. In New York, though, you get the key. He will get the key to the city in New York. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
But he'll get the key. But what is he driving though? See, that's the thing.
This is where the Jets have the advantage on the Dolphins. The cap room. I don't know how much cap room they will lose by making this deal. I don't think it's going to be that much, because if you throw Darnold plus the draft picks, it might be, they might lose maybe $10 to $15 million in cap room. That still leaves you with anywhere between $55 and $60 million of cap room.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot of money. They can go ahead and sign whatever they need. Whatever Deshaun wants, Deshaun will get. Deshaun goes, get me this guy. The Jets will go whole hog on whoever they got to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, the best fit would be the Jets. It's a personal preference where Deshaun wants to go, and he did mention that Miami would be his first choice.
Yeah.
First choice. His second choice would be the Jets. Again, though, we run into the problem of the Houston Texans front office. We know what the baseline is that they want now. Now, what do you call the Jets? They don't have a defensive player to send them. They can send them a quarterback. Darnold's going to be part of a deal regardless.
So
they don't have defensive players to send.
Right.
The Jets defense wasn't that good.
So the Ruck Report, he said the Jets have a good line. Saleh will make the defense better. They have enough cap room to make another deal. He doesn't need to sign an extension. Either he can do like Matthew Stafford did. And Sean said, I always thought the Jets were a good team under bad coaching and bad ownership. I agree. And Ruck also said Miami has a better talent pool. And I feel, again, thank you, fellas. I agree with what you're saying, Nick. But if I'm the Jets, I'm getting him something that's going to attract him to New York. I'm getting on the phone and say, hey, what can we get to get him here?
When does free agency start?
Let me see. I don't know. I know
March
17th.
Okay. So this is what's going to happen. March 17th, first day of free agency, and it's obvious that people can talk. It's obvious the Texans are in rebuild to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Yeah, it's true. This is what I'm thinking. You're allowed to talk to free agents. There's that 1 week window where you can talk to free agents, get the parameters done, and then March 17th, put pen to paper. The Jets are going to be all in on any of the major free agents that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if they contact. You can't have direct contact to Deshaun Watson, obviously. You don't want to get caught for tampering in any sort of way. We know how the NFL is on tampering rules.
So you call somebody that he does. Anyway.
You could talk to his agent, who may be an agent to other players, You know, in which and then have to say, what does Deshaun want? Tell me who he wants. We can go out and try and get these players. March 17th comes. The Jets get a player or players that Deshaun wants. The Jets then go to the Texans and say, this is what we can offer you. This is going to be our best offer. We will give you the 2 first-round picks. We will give you the 2 second-round picks. We will give you Sam Darnold. And the only defensive player that comes to mind right now, and I'm probably going to get shot for this from either Sean or Rucka, is this. C.J. Mosley. The leader, pretty much, if he didn't get hurt, you're talking about the leader of the defense. He's really the guy that you can throw there. Maybe Marcus May. You know, I'm just thinking of players that the Jets can maybe move, will throw and move. And if the Jets were to make that type of offer, I can't see Houston saying no unless they want to spite Watson and keep him in jail, you know, for his contract.
I could see that happening. I could see them saying, "Hey, you knew what you were signing up for, so you know we want a return on our investment. You know, you knew what it was about. So hey, listen, you gotta do what you got to do, and you gotta honor your contract." And
you know, and Ruck's bringing up great points. J.J. Watt, he's going to be gone. Will Fuller and Kenny Stills are both free agents. Although I am not big fans of either of them. Will Fuller, every time he has a great game, next game he gets hurt or he's got a drug problem. Kenny Stills never played up to his potential at all at any stop that he was at. Seattle, Buffalo, Rams, Saints, here. Never plays up to his potential.
Well, he's an Oklahoma guy. You know how they do when they get in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. What do you call it? So
it's like Duke of it's like Duke of the NFL. You know, they do good in college, but you know.
So Watson, he might not have any weapons in Houston anyway. And guess what? Houston's going to be like, oh well. Pretty much it's going to be, oh well. You know, that's just the way I feel about it. And you know, in the end, I just don't see that. Oh God, I'm about to get reamed.
No, you're not. Hey, listen, we got the Ruck Report. He jumped on. He's making a from Lake Stadium.
Right now. Listen, hold on. I'm laughing because Nick, for one, how are you, sir? How you doing today?
I was fine until you popped on because I got a funny feeling I'm about to either get a scolding or am I about to get a left?
No. Listen, I actually, you know, as always, want to salute you fellas for all you do. You guys give great sports the way everybody needs it. So people tune in. But I actually kind of agree with both of you guys. The thing that I was saying, Nick, is that in agreeing with the Jets thing, is that they do have way more to offer Deshaun in terms of the keys to the castle, right? The thing about the Jets is that he's going to have to build that castle. In Miami, it already has a solid foundation in the talent pool that they have. He could really catapult them to a different dimension in that AFC. Now, here's why I do like the Jets, because the one thing that Nick pointed out is the cap space, and the cap space is going to let them do a lot of things. Deshaun Watson doesn't have to ask for new money. Remember, he just signed his deal, I think it was last year, the big contract, so he doesn't have to ask for new money. Deshaun Watson is also, I think, one of the smartest young players in the league, where he understands what it's going to take for him to get to the next level, right? What I said about the Texans is really don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. They're going to try to salvage this whole thing with Deshaun any way they can. We're still in the year of Wakanda. We're still in the year of Black Lives Matter. We just got 45 out of office. So they know how to, or they're going to act like they know how to move. But understand this, The Texans have run amok for a number of years, and now two of their storied players want nothing else to do with them. And one of those being JJ. JJ wants nothing to do with them either. And just like he apologized, which was on camera when he told Deshaun that, hey, we wasted one of your years, JJ also knows that the Texans just wasted the last two of his, which he forced major injuries to do. Now, think of this. The reason I put Stills and Fuller in there is because if you're the Jets, you give him somebody that he's familiar with. Say what you want, but if you look at Will Fuller's numbers next to D Hop before he left, they were great. Pro Bowl even. Kenny Stills is a deep threat that they won't have to pay for much. And then you just fill in the blanks. So I agree with what Nick is saying. I think he could get the keys to either one of those franchises, and it wouldn't be a bad look. I don't think they lose. The only thing that I disagree with what Nick was saying, I don't think that there's a downside to him not performing. Deshaun Watson has been with the Texans for what, 4 years? Right?
4 years. 4 years. Yeah, I believe it's
4 years. He hasn't had a down year. And with no offensive line, please understand that his stats this season were only rivaled by 4 other quarterbacks in NFL history. Steve Young, Joe Montana. So he's in rare air already with nothing, with no D-Hop that went to Arizona and caught 105 balls. And he still has stats that rival people like that. I mean, come on. The kid is going to be good wherever he goes. And if he gets something that resembles solid talent, he's proven that he could be really special.
You know, Ruck, I would have to agree with you. But you know, one thing that really makes me sad is JJ Watt, man. Watching what the Texans has, you know.
No, don't be sad. Don't be sad about that. I need JJ all the way mad right now. Don't be sad about that.
You know, I think that
I need JJ coming to Green Bay. Don't be sad about that. I'm all the way mad.
Okay,
I want him all the way mad.
I see how it is.
I done sent JJ 102 letters addressed from the Texas management saying get out of town. We want JJ all the way mad.
Oh man, I love that. Listen, I love that. You know, but I just feel that JJ Watt, I think he just deserves better. I would love for the Texans to just give him a nice gentleman's part and say, hey, do your thing. Let's just rebuild. Boom. I will respect them if they do that. Of course they're not, but because I just feel this guy, he bled and he put so much out there just to get nothing, and yeah, man. Yeah. But no, I definitely appreciate you saying that. Now, I do want to jump to something real quick. Again, before we go, got to thank our lovely, nice sponsor, Cassandra Roach. Again, tax time coming up, getting that stimulus. Why not get yourself someone who can help you get that mortgage that you need? And that's where Cassandra Roach comes in to play. At Caldwell Banker Realty, she can do that for you, help you. Give her a call, 475-201-7435. And tell everyone when you talk to her that Marquette, Nick, the Rucker Report, and Chris G sent you. And I'm sure she'll thank you. So I would like to talk about the NBA here. I want to move on real quick.
I'm jumping off because this is you and Nick. I just want to listen to y'all.
Okay, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man. But
appreciate it, Nick.
Definitely keep on, staying in the conversation because you're gonna like this one, Ruck. You're gonna like this one. So that's about Westbrook, huh? You want to talk about Westbrook? Now, a lot of groups I'm in, people are giving him slack like crazy. I try not to listen to it. I'm like, la 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 la. I don't want to hear it. But is he done in DC?
I'm going to say this as bluntly as possible. I've always liked Russell Westbrook as a player since his day at UCLA.
Okay.
However, I never liked his overall game for one reason and one reason only. You can average a triple-double all you want.
Okay.
You can, rocket yourself to MVP status. You can do whatever you want. Problem that I have always had with Westbrook is, does he make his teams better? Let's look at it closely now, right? For a couple of years, he played with Kevin Durant and James Harden in Oklahoma City. Then Harden went and signed his contract with Houston, and he still played with Durant. Got as far as the Western Conference Finals, I believe, in which they should have beaten Golden State, but disappeared. Literally, he disappeared. After Durant left, I thought, okay, this will show his mettle. How good can he be on his own?
Mm-hmm.
And he still had a pretty decent supporting cast.
Mm-hmm. MVP.
Couldn't get higher than what? A 6 seed? 7 seed? Okay. Moves on now to the Rocket. Forces himself out of Oklahoma City. And goes to Houston. Teams up with Harden again. Now I'm thinking, okay, I want to see how this works out. Can he play nice? The marriage lasted what? 2 years? If that?
No, about a
Couldn't
year.
Couldn't get past the second round either year. Okay. Now he's with Washington. He's gone. Washington has one of the worst records in the NBA right now. Bradley Beal is pretty much their MVP, but, they can't play defense. Quite obvious. That game last night against the Nets just proves how much of a farce the Nets are, because they didn't deserve to win that game. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 3 of the 5 wins that they've gotten this year so far have been against the Nets. And I keep saying to myself, what is the allure with Russell Westbrook? What is the allure with him? No, he does not make anybody better around him. He actually, to me, makes teams worse.
Oh, man.
He doesn't, he's not, to me, in my book, he is not a winner. In the end, I will say that there's a number, though, that people don't that should be worried about also. His game is declining. Don't let the numbers fool you. His game is declining because there's a lot more turnovers now. He's starting to cheat a little bit on his first step. This is not the Westbrook that we saw 2, maybe even 3 years ago. Is he done in DC? Yes. I can't see him lasting more than 1 season there because I think the writing is already on the wall with DC. Holy crap.
Ruck, I know that's your Brody, but come on now. Come on. Like, he like, listen.
Look, he's a good, solid player. He's a good, solid player. He is. He's not the stud that he was a couple of years ago. He's not. I think the injuries are starting to creep up. The injuries have been creeping up the last couple of years. They have been.
Uh-oh.
I mean,
T. Wilson. He said no dissing Westbrook. Okay, Nick, get him, Nick. Get him, Nick. Get him.
Mark, I love you. You know that. You're my boy. You've been my boy for a very long time. We did podcasts way back in the day before podcasts were cool. But I got to tell it like it is, brother. This is a guy who 5 years ago would be considered top 5 in the NBA, hands down. Right now, he's not even top 25.
Oh, dang.
He's not. And what do you call it? It's just, to me, it just seems to me that no matter where he goes and who he plays with, what do you think about it, guys? Think about it. Now, I know there's half the NBA fans out there are calling me out for blasphemy and want to, have me drawn and quartered in the middle of the square. However, however,
So watch. So everyone who's who's listening, we have a lot of Westbrook fans. I just want to read some of these
obviously.
comments. Let me work. So we got my man Mark T. Wilson, who is the owner of Rich Kid Clothing. Shouts out to him. He said, no diss in Westbrook. The Rucker Report, he said, it's early, and let's not act like DC has been good over the past 5 years. He also go on to say Wall and Bill have done the same. He said, wow, you shut your mouth when you talk to me. And Mark T. Wilson said he's going to change the culture in DC, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Now again, so we all show about helping, Nick. We want to help these GMs a little bit because they're not paying us, so we don't want to give them too much credit. Where do you think? Okay, let me rephrase that. If he were to go to another team, would it help, and what team would help him make those around him better? Not even San Antonio.
Popovich would not. He wouldn't last a year with Popovich. Let's be honest with that. To be honest with you, it's my opinion and my opinion only. I'm not saying I'm right. Never have, never will.
Yes, you are, Nick. Talk that shit, Nick.
No. Seriously. My opinion is this. Russell Westbrook is a really good basketball player. He just is not the type of player that will make a team better. Okay. Either the team will stay the same or the team will get worse. Now, I understand Wall and Beal in the last 5 years couldn't change the culture in DC. In order for DC to even get better, my opinion, you have to the roster's going to have to be blown up. The roster is just going to have to be blown up.
Well, Bill is not happy.
Beal's never happy.
He wants out. He's scoring. He remind me of some of you Knicks fans. Sorry to say this, but do you remember when Jamal Crawford was scoring like 50 points, 40 points, and Knicks still was losing?
Yeah,
like that's what Bradley Beal is going through now and again, and it's some rumors about him going to the Lakers. They got like a 3-player trade in the first round to get him. I don't think they should, giving up a lot, but
exactly. What do you call? I actually think Beal is worth more now than Westbrook in any deal that goes down.
Now, Mark Wilson, Mr. Wilson, he says Philly. He can see.
No.
You don't think that could tame him? You don't think Doc can help him out?
No. Well,
I mean,
if you think about if you think about it, I could say yes, but the problem is this. It goes to how much do you have to give up? Because we all remember Philly went through the process
a few times.
Well, no, they finally went through the process. This is a team still very young. Ben Simmons, the game is starting to come around. Please, for the love of God, make a jump shot, because I've been a big Ben Simmons fan since he was at LSU for that one season. 6'10" point guard. You don't see those. You don't see that in any day and age. Embiid's a beast. We know that. If Westbrook comes in, is there going to be friction with Embiid? You're going to have to give up Ben Simmons, stuff like that. Just, it's just, to me, it's just not a good fit. You have to blow up the Sixers to get Westbrook, because Washington's going to ask for the arm, the leg, and your firstborn just for Westbrook, like they're going to do the same thing for Beal. Problem is, I don't think Westbrook is even worth that anymore.
Well, to your point, Ruck said if the Wizards pull it together, they can be a 5 or 6 seed in the East with Indiana and Milwaukee on the decline. I think Mark Wilson said, giving up Simmons, I believe. And Ruck says Philly is a horrible spot to trade Russell.
Thank you.
That's tough.
I got to be honest with you. I got a funny feeling that he goes. I got a funny feeling that he just plays out the rest of this contract with DC, because that's another thing. The contract is just so large that it eats up a lot of cap room.
That's going to be interesting.
Ruck actually. Ooh, I don't even know about that.
What you want?
You're putting Russ and Durant on the same team again. There's bad blood there.
I don't know if that's going to work, Ruck. I don't know.
You're talking Russ, Durant, and Harden. You're talking the freaking Oklahoma City Thunder of 10 years ago.
But this was different because James Harden. But James Harden didn't play with Russ, so I can't see.
They all played with Russ. Remember? I just said it. They played together with Oklahoma City, but that was like 10 years ago.
I'm saying that Harden and Westbrook
feels like 10 years ago.
But Harden and Westbrook, they just played together, so that didn't go too bad. But I don't think I don't know. I don't know. And so Ruck said, again, for those not watching, he said, okay, send Russ to Brooklyn for Kyrie. It works better. He's a better defensive player than Kyrie. Anybody's a better defensive player than Kyrie. And he said they are all familiar with each other and know how to play together. Ruck also says KD can play with anyone. Check Russ stats from last year. Yes, I agree, but he had a tough time playing with Russell Westbrook. When you look at the production, again, you know OKC, Ruck. When Russell Westbrook and KD were on the floor together, it's like they played horribly together. They didn't gel well. But once the other one was gone, it seemed like one just took the bag and went. But as soon as they got back with each other, it's like, no, I want the ball. No, I want the ball. No, you take the ball. No, you take the ball. They just couldn't quite gel together. And I think James Harden.
I was about to say add Harden to the mix.
Now, I feel James Harden can play with a lot of people. But when you have ball dominant players like Russell Westbrook, KD, and Harden, that's tough. That's tough. Ruck, I'm just saying. I know you say that I'm wilding, but I cannot see KD and Russell Westbrook playing together ever again at this juncture right now, because I just don't know if Westbrook is ready to relinquish some of that right now. And he said Harden averaged 30 last year.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Harden was really the reason why Houston got as far as they did. But when Harden ran, we saw Harden run out of gas in the playoffs. He did. He was missing like a quarter step in the playoffs. He really was. And Westbrook, he came back into the bubble because remember, he had that injury or sickness, whatever he had, that the illness last year. He didn't play during the regular season, but when he came back, he definitely wasn't the Russell Westbrook that everybody knew. And when they were on the court together, though, you could tell, you could just tell that it was the same thing. It was the same thing. Two alphas on the same court just doesn't gel well.
So this is what this is going to look like, right? Watch this, right? So you bring in, let's just say you bring in Westbrook. So you bring in Westbrook with a new coach, right? But also on a new coach, D'Antoni, who Russell Westbrook and James Harden played for. How is that going to work? What can be worked out? I don't see D'Antoni saying, okay, well, let's do this, let's do that. He's not going to add much. D'Antoni's going to say, you shoot the ball. And they all going to want to shoot. So now you're going to have to tell Steve Nash, hey, you're going to have to, wrangling all these superstar emotions and still trying to win in New York. That's tough. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. So Ruck says, so what's Brooklyn excuse? He said, you got three alphas, two major weirdos.
Well, let's be honest. I'm waiting for the implosion. I'm waiting for the implosion. I'm waiting for either Kyrie to finally take the ball, take his bag and leave, because you know we see it when the three of them are scoring like 90% of the points, 80% of the points. There's not enough times that all of them can touch the ball. Durant, as Ruck said, can play with anybody. He'll keep quiet to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Harden and Kyrie, I can see the both of them starting to snap at each other on social media or through the press or whatever. It's to me, it's only a matter of time. And defensively, Kyrie's a sieve. The kid in Cleveland destroyed him, 2 consecutive games.
Colin Sexton.
Destroyed him 2 consecutive games. I mean, we saw what happened last night with Washington. When was the last time you saw 149, 146 in regulation?
Somebody is going to score 180 soon. I'm just playing.
I mean, this is basketball from back in the 1980s, the early 80s, when we used to see 150, 160, almost on a nightly basis, when we had Showtime and the Celtics and, San Antonio and all these teams that could put up points left and right, because defense back then was almost as non-existent as it is in today's game. I can guarantee you that the bad boys and the Knicks of the early 90s and and those teams are rolling over in their graves right now, seeing what's going on in the NBA defensively.
Yeah, it's I don't think that Westbrook could work with KD, and I know people keep saying KD could work with anyone. That's not true, because KD had problems in Golden State. Golden State was probably one of the best places, most cushioners that you can play. But he had issues with Draymond. He had issues with him being the star. He didn't like that he was second fiddle to Steph Curry. He did not like that. But this is about basketball. KD did not like that whatsoever. So now he goes to New York, Brooklyn. Now you get Kyrie. Okay, cool. Now you get James Harden. You do know if you don't win in Brooklyn, they're going to come torch you. I mean, Nick, you live in Jersey. You know how the New York media is.
Oh, forget about it. What do you call it? The New York media, has always been one of the toughest. New York is the toughest town to play in any sport, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, doesn't matter. Basketball, it doesn't matter. If you don't perform, they will barbecue you quicker than you can say boo in the press.
Yeah.
So
that's tough. Now, with that being said, Nick, we got a few more minutes. Westbrook, what do you do with him? Do you just keep pushing?
To me, I just see him playing out the contract in DC. I can't see any team taking the chance to make a play for him. One, his contract is onerous. It really is. Two, you're going to have to give up a lot and hope for the best. And he's getting to the age where now he's not going to be worth as much as he was if this were Westbrook 5 years ago. Yeah. So to me, he plays out the contract. We'll see what happens in DC, and I guess it's now hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Well, Nick, you said it, not me. I hope he goes to Miami. That's just how I feel. I would love to see him with them young boys running down in Miami. Now, before we go, Nick, again, I just want to say thank you, brother. I appreciate you. You guys don't know how patient Nick has been. I've been ripping and running, but he's been, hey, I got to get on. So I appreciate him so much, and always being a supporter, listener, contributor. Thank you so much. What I'm trying to get, and I'm going to say it, I'm trying to get Nick with DSTM, get his own show, because I want to know about wrestling, Nick, because I haven't watched wrestling in years, but I got the WrestleMania poster because I like the old school wrestling, as my grandma used to say. And I need someone to talk to me about that because this new stuff, maybe if you tell me about it, I'll be a little interested in. But I just go to your page and find out what I need to know about wrestling there.
As everybody knows, last night was the Royal Rumble for WWE, and I watch WWE. I watch AEW. Hell, I even watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling across the Pacific whenever I can. And I gotta say, if there's been a time where wrestling has helped heal, all your mind and your body and your soul, it's the sport that hasn't gone. It's the sport or the entertainment that hasn't gone away. When the pandemic hit last year, a lot of indie promotions had to fold up shop or suspend operations because of this. And WWE, WWE, AEW, New Japan, they continued even though fans weren't allowed in the buildings at first. WWE got more creative and created the Thunderdome, in which, you can actually be on a screen watching live, and your picture may show up on one of those screens. It's not the same experience. It's not live fans, but, the fans you can actually hear the fans' noise, most of the time. AEW has been running shows out of Jacksonville at a place called Dalley's Place, which is right next to the Jaguars football stadium. As we all know, AEW is owned by Tony Khan, who happens to be the son of the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, Shad Khan. They started having fans now. I mean, it's not at full capacity, but having the live crowd there, it's actually really nice. New Japan, they're running at 50%, 50% all across, whether it's the Budokan, the Tokyo Dome, and other cities that they usually run their shows. At least they're having fans there again. We're not back to where we are yet. But what I saw last night, actually a couple of nights ago, there's a local here in New Jersey. There's a local wrestling organization called GCW. They ran a show 24 hours straight.
That's crazy.
And streamed it live on YouTube for free. And there were guys that wrestled, no joke, 5 or 6 times through the night.
Oh my gosh.
They raised $60,000 for everybody that performed that night. And it was different organizations. It was GCW and other indie organizations that ran these shows. And I have to admit, what I saw was incredible. It really was. I'm waiting for the day where indie shows are run again all across the United States. There's only certain places where indie shows are running right now. Some with minimal fans, some, being streamed live so people can watch it because you can't have fans yet. When we get back to the somewhat normal of house shows, live shows, fans in attendance, wrestlers feeling the energy of people in the audience, that's when everything will pop again. And there's going to be live fans at WrestleMania this year over 2 nights. They're going to be at Raymond James Stadium. And each night, there's going to be at least 25,000 fans there.
Wow, that's a lot.
Well, Raymond James Stadium can hold up to 85,000 fans. So that's like a third of what can be held. It's going to be social distance. But there's going to be fans in the stadium. Mm-hmm. It's a step in the right direction. We're not there yet. We don't know when we're going to be there yet. But as long as I can tune my TV onto USA Network, Fox Sports, TNT, YouTube, Twitch, whatever it may be, to watch a good show, I will do that. Now, I have a friend of mine that has a wrestling podcast. His name is James Nyes. The show is called 3 Count Wrestling. I've been on his show many times. Me and him go at it tooth and nail, and we have great discussions. His show has kept everybody, informed on everything that's been going on in wrestling, and I give him a lot of props for doing so, him and his crew. And James is actually the reason why, I started getting more and more, because I was a wrestling guy from the 80s, the Hulk Hogan years.
Me too, man.
The Ric Flair NWA years, the Nick Bockwinkel AWA years. I'm talking early 80s. I lost wrestling in the in the 90s a little bit. I came back during the Attitude Era when you had Stone Cold, Triple H,
The Rock,
The Rock, HLA, which was allowed on TV back then before everybody started getting politically correct. I lived through the Ruthless Aggression era. I lived through the Monday Night Wars. I now live through the Wednesday Night Wars with AEW and NXT. I started getting back into indie wrestling again, and now I'm into Japanese wrestling. I watch NJPW as much as I can. I watch Pro Wrestling Noah. I'm trying to get back into All Japan Wrestling. But in the end, I got to say this. Wrestling is an art form. Wrestling is entertainment. Mm-hmm. Wrestling can keep you on the edge of the seats as long as it's done right. I'm a fan. Always have, always will. I will rip it apart when I don't like something. But you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be as honest and as truthful as possible when it comes to wrestling, no matter who the organization is.
Yeah. Well, Nick, again, I like the New Japan. I'm going to ease into it, but you just keep me informed. And I want to thank everybody who was tuned in, checking in. I appreciate everyone. Really, I do. Nick, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Man, I always appreciate you, man, and we definitely got to do this again, man. We definitely got to do this again. But like I said, we're going to talk off air because Nick needs his own show, man. Nick needs his own show but we'll talk. Because the way he can get the crowd going, come on, only a few people, Stephen A., a few people can do it like that. So, Nick, I appreciate you, brother, so much. So, thank you. And again,
I try not to be controversial. It's just that my opinions are far from the norm of everybody else. And I welcome good conversation. I welcome opinions. I'm not going to say you're right because it's your opinion. We can agree to disagree. And in the end, as long as people are entertained and as long as people, get to know what my feelings are without, stupid rancor like from fanboys or anything like that, because you're going to get that regardless. But as long as they understand where I'm coming from, Sean, trust me, it's been in the back of my mind for the last 3 years when I put the show on ice.
You got to, man. That's what got me, man. That's what got me, the mad scientist, man. So we're waiting for it, Nick.
All right. Well, my name is Nick Ficorelli. I am known as the mad scientist of sports. I did have a podcast back in the day. I don't know when it's going to come back. However, I enjoy doing this with friends. I've done it with you, Quet. I've done it with others as well, making guest appearances and stuff. So I can pretty much say that who knows. All I can say is this: never say never. It will happen one day again. And if it does, it's going to be video. You're going to see this pretty mug because we're gone are the days of blog talk radio, gone are the days of podcasting for me. I mean, what do you call it? That's just not happening, but you can see me live whenever I can on StreamYard, Zoom, whatever it may be. If I decide to go through this, go through all this again. So who knows? Never say never. That's all I'm going to end it with.
Well, never say never. And again, you guys, thanks again for tuning to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. On that note, I'm Professional Sutton, and you are
the Mad Scientist of Sports.
All right, peace.
Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy, Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy, Chris G.
And it's your boy, The Rucker Report, a.k.a. Jerry.
Ready? This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished.
This is Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
X about me.
With Professional Sutton.
You already know.
Chris G.
My homie.
And the Rucker Report.
My family, what up? They for real.
All straight with no chaser.
Let the games begin.
Let's go. Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.